got a man, that's what's up. Love is love, who give a fuck? Girl on girl, they like yup. But when it's man on man, they like yuck. Motherfuckers need to go on with that shit. Bitch, we ain't playing alone, get no skits. Drag shows be so bomb, it's so lit. Throwing wigs in the air, ping pong, getting that shit. Lesbian, go ahead and eat it. Get the dildo and Michael Jackson beat it. Get that pussy upset, get it heated. I might try since my middle name Eden. Gay guy brave, take an anal. When they come, that's a volcano. Tell her that the dick is your lingo. They curve that bitch like a rainbow. Boy, oh boy, girl, oh girl. Boy, oh boy, girl, oh girl. Boy, oh boy, girl, oh girl. Like who the fuck you like, fuck the world. Boy, oh boy, girl, oh girl.
Hello guys, you're welcome to the Minority Report Nigeria. I am Kito Diaries and he is. And today we will be talking about something I think we both agree is really important to articulate. Kito Diaries, a Nigerian LGBT website, has very recently ran a series titled How I Resist, hashtag How I Resist, and it was an avenue for queer people all across Nigeria to say for themselves what resistance to homophobia, oppression, biphobia, transphobia, and all the likes means to them on a very individual level. So we thought it was interesting to talk about. So,
I like when the boys wear. I like when the boys wear pink. I like when the tonight your audience is your mirror. Audience is your mirror. Your water bottle is your microphone. I know you think you know what can hear you.
Resistance is about saying no to everything that says no to you being different. I
love that.
Yeah, I believe I'm always and have always been a fan of an advocate for for basic humanity, for people to be allowed to be who they want to be, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody. It feels like a very trite thing to say, but it can be a very simple way to look at life. Why?
And it begs to be repeated.
Not to stress yourself about someone else's issues if they are not your problems, and if they are not problems to him as well. So I think I see that movement. I was part of it as well, and I see it as a determination to come against anything that comes against you being a human being, with deserving of everything, the right to be expressive of yourself, the right to be to live comfortably in your truth or in your skin, the right to be a human, just be a human being, to live, and there are factors in the society that says no, that can't happen, and I just feel like it's a very every day people, especially from the LGBT community, are endeavoring to put out a narrative about them.
Speak truth to power.
That the society has refused, that society and all these extenuating arms like the media and the public and the film industry have refused to help them change. So you have to use what you can to try to send a message out there that, look, we're not monsters, we're not pedophiles,
into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast and be the backlash of somebody's lack of love, or you can start speaking up.
That's why the social media is a very beautiful thing, because it helps to shift narratives, and that is what I think the resistance campaign was aiming to do. It wasn't like this big thing. It was just something that was just supposed to create a concerted effort at making people realize that there is a face to all these people.
Yes.
They are not just statistics. They are people
They are
who
human
have
beings
struggles.
with lives and struggles.
So yeah, that's what I think. That's what I feel.
If you say what you want to say and let the words fall out, honestly, I want to see you be brave with what you want to say and let the words
And you know, there's a way in which I feel like there are certain words that over the historical course of usage, their historical course of usage have taken on a certain underbelly. And I think resistance is one of those words. When you hear resistance, you're thinking the Black Berets, you're thinking the Black Power Feast, you're thinking women marches, you're thinking 1,000 marches, you're thinking, you know, all of these really, really big concerted efforts and community organizations, which is wonderful and all. But what I found most interesting about that resistance campaign is that it's touched, like when people were speaking from their own personal experiences as to what resistance means to them, it touched on the very little things which, when you really think about it, have very far-reaching consequences. The very fact that you go out, you know, as a gay man with your kimono, wearing your mascara.
I know, right? It was so beautiful to see. There was some of the pledges, resistance pledges that I read, and it made me want to cry.
Yes.
I felt very, very touched. Like, I mean, I know these things, you know, all these lives exist, but to hear people, to read people actualize them, put them in words for you to read, it was very, very touching.
Yes.
And it made me, I could not understand why, like, there is something really beautiful about these things. There is something really beautiful about people men who just want to dress in kimono clothes or just go out, you know. There's something really, really beautiful about
your human existence.
You know, it's just, and I till tomorrow, I will never get why we have a society that is steeped in such ugliness and wickedness.
Just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave. Just wanna see you. I just wanna see you. Just wanna see you. I wanna see you be brave.
I had a post, an essay on Kito Diaries some time back about, you know, inhabiting your own truth and as a queer person, engaging with your privileges where they exist. And for me, reading a lot of those resistance pledges reaffirmed that it's one thing to resist in a way that's incidental, and it's also another thing to be clear. And, you know, to do that, you need to hold yourself to an extra, you know, you need to examine your life and everything, you know, all the indices that can work in your favor, can work for you in, you know, laying the groundwork for the kind of world you want to live in. It could be the fact that you are very good with history, you're very articulate, you know how to marshal your points, you are very good at convincing people, or you're just very good with the sass. It could be just about anything. So in resisting, I think it's also important to do it in a way that is informed, in a way that is organized, as opposed to being incidental. Doing this, it's also important to recognize privileges. When we think of privileges, you are thinking in terms of political or financial clout. But like I said, the little things matter. All the little things that can help you in pushing, you know, pushing for a space in which you can inhabit in your immediate environment without putting yourself in harm's way counts as some sort of privilege when you really think about it. So it's important to really be aware of all those little nitty-gritties and, you know, to account for them in how you decide to resist.
Yeah, and in relation to, you know, that self-awareness, it's very, very important, you know, because you can't, resistance cuts through different avenues. I remember when we were reading, I was reading some of the pledges with a friend of mine, and we got to the part where there was some of them that was basically talking about self. You know, I resist when I love myself. I resist when I decided to tell myself every day that I was special. And he was like, "Oh no, this is not what." I was like, "No, it is actually."
It is.
You know, he had this idea that in resisting you have to be pushing back at society, but even self is a society on its own that is coming against you. People are different. People who are different grow up being very aware of that difference, and it is not just the self that is telling them that emphasizing on that difference is propagated by the environment that they live in. Yes, but that stuff is a very, very big obstacle for one to come against, to overcome. And you can't really sufficiently educate someone or come against someone
if you don't have a
about your
conviction
difference.
about
If you've not
yourself
really,
already.
if you've not convinced yourself, it's going to be very hard. So yes, those who take the time to resist to themselves by, being more aware of their difference, being more accepting of themselves.
Everybody's been
That
there,
is
everybody's been stared
very
down
solid
by
for
the enemy. Falling for the fear and dancing, disappearing. Bow down to the mighty. Don't run. Stop holding your tongue.
the people who are different. Are they the
course
ones who
not.
have to resist, or does it also involve
It involves everybody.
people who like? Okay, that was one of the pages that I read, and the person said something about how we should all resist because we all bleed or something. But basically, it was like we should all resist, and I thought about that, and I was like, initially I thought he just meant everyone who's different, but it's like we said in
everyone.
past episodes.
Yes.
I remember when we were talking about the episode about the Jorima magazine,
magazine.
and we said something about how everyone should try to stop, put a concerted effort in stopping the things that make queer people high, because everything comes back to
Full
so
circle.
it affects everyone. So really, because I know when that whole process of resistance was going on, I remember I talked to a couple of friends of mine who see themselves as allies of the queer community, and they were like, but it's a gay thing. It's not really. I mean, we're not resisting homophobia. I mean, I'm just straight, that kind of thing. But it's really not. It's not about.
Which is just
It's not,
ridiculous.
it's not
I mean,
it's
can't
not
a
a
straight
mantra
person...
or a movement for. I mean, heck, when an example when Martin Luther King did that whole summer march, there were white people in.
Yes, and
in
here's
that
the
march.
funny thing about this whole people who think they're straight, wanting to remove themselves from the idea of fighting against homophobia. Then how are you an ally, first of all? And then also, homophobia mostly is centered around the idea of sex between two men, but people tend to forget that base idea branches out into a lot of other things as to what men can be, or what men cannot be, what women can be, what women cannot be, how they should present. A lot of it also has to do with presentation, to say, okay, this person is gay just by how they are dressed and all that. So a lot of it starts to play out into presentation, and the danger in demonizing certain kinds of presentation is that it makes it impossible for people in general to embrace themselves fully. You as a man can like certain things, but you think, oh my god, everybody's going to think this is gay, and because of that you cut that out.
True.
And by insinuation, cut out a part of yourself, because for every moment you are not living true, you are not living full.
There's a way out of the cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light in. Show me how big and brave is. Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out.
Allies are really, really important. It's not enough to just post on your Facebook stats every once in a while. You need to speak up, where it is necessary. You need to show up and show out. That is what being an ally is about.
Everywhere, in every space, there was something I admire about what he said in the article that he said he wrote for Kito Diaries, where he was talking about how it is not about coming on. It starts from where you are, in the units where you are, at the dinner table, with your family, with your friends, with your inner circle. Everywhere you see these prejudices that come against people having the right to be different, you quash it. You come down hard against it. You don't wait till you get to the social media to say something or to cry and to everywhere it is, everywhere heck, even what you're doing, you're resisting. It's just,
Yes.
you know, here we're now saying, actually put it in words, and then we post it, it gets posted on the social media and it goes out there. Everyone, as long as you have an understanding of the unfairness of heteronormative norms of society, of homophobia, of biphobia, of any form of prejudice, really.
How they stifle and cripple.
You know, as long as you have an understanding of it and you have something to say against it, you're resisting. And that is the point of the whole resistance, you know, to one word at a time, one effort at a time, one action at a time, change the narrative that's different.
The cage where you live. Maybe one of these days you can let the light in. Show me how big and brave is. Say what you wanna say and let the words fall out.
This was fun.
It was.
And somber, kind of. But it's a somber subject.
It is.
It's you know, these issues that touch on the lives of the queer community. It's whenever I think about them, it's a really sad state, because it's that thing, that very pervasive curse, or like this wound that is eating up at our society, that the society doesn't seem to understand the gravity of it.
Like homophobia is like a neurosis that everybody just it seems not to recognize for what it is.
Yeah, and when issues like this, when it really pains me when, you know, people are protesting issues like this, and you say, I beg, Nigeria is not ready for that, or you say, I beg, it's not even. How does it change the cost of crayfish?
Crayfish.
It is
Girl,
really,
bye.
it's as important as fighting the corruption. It's as important as
It's basically human rights. It's you know when it's called LGBT rights, people tend to think of it as this other thing, but it is human rights when it comes right down to it.
Yes, and people are getting killed. People are getting extorted.
Maimed.
People are getting victimized,
Frozen out of opportunities,
because of issues like this that we ignore.
and they have
Well,
very big ramifications, and we all need to lend our voices to see that we live in the sort of society of our dreams. So yes, I think this is a good place to end the episode today. Until we come your way next time. Cheers.
I wanna see you be
Bye.
brave. What you wanna say.